I think you're on, Vicki.
I am. I'm doing actually the recordings now today too. Terry is out with notice. Good evening and welcome to the City of Sharonville's council meeting. We're doing it by Zoom again this time. So if everyone would please just stay seated, we're going to have a moment of silent prayer and then we'll cross our hearts and we'll pledge of allegiance. Mrs. Knight has supplied the flag again this evening. So Mr. Duda, you're up this evening. If you'll go ahead and lead us in the silent prayer and the pledge. Thank you.
Yes, let us take a moment of silence for all the victims of the pandemic and everyone dealing with this, for our first responders, and a moment of silence. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Duda. Roll call. I have Mr. Tankersley.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here. Here.
Mr. Lippert.
I'm here.
Mr. Duda.
Here.
Mr. Cook.
Here.
Mrs. Knight.
Here.
And Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from our April 28th Zoom meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, those stand as written and distributed. Reports and communication, Mayor Hardman.
Thank you, Vicki. Couple of things tonight. First of all, let's start with good news. It's always a good thing to start with. As the rest of the state and the country begins to reopen, hopefully you all saw that reopening will include our own Ford plant down on Sharon Road. So that is good things to hear as we continue to get a good grasp of what this crisis will do to our financial receipts and the continued operation of the city. So it's good to hear that one of our larger employers is going to be getting back to business here very shortly. So we're very glad to hear that. We're still trying to get a sense of what kind of impact we're going to have. So far, we're in a very good position, and we think and certainly hope as business gets back to usual, we can maintain that status quo. So our communications to our employees is that through the month of May, we're kind of progressing as we have. The police department has already put into place a back to business plan, so to speak. So they are starting next week, getting back into their 8-hour shifts. Bringing some of their employees that weren't in there, including our mayor's court employees, back in to start that process back up, and hope that court will get back to working here in June. I have asked all of our department heads to target the middle of June as the time frame, barring any unforeseen problems that we see, but the middle of June is being the time where we start going back to the old normal. And start looking at bringing our employees back in and opening up our city buildings to be able to appropriately deal with the public. There'll be changes to that old normal. Obviously, we're going to be looking at ways that we can obviously deal with the public and keep our employees and keep them safe through this process. So all the department heads are working toward how does that look? What does that look like here in the middle of June? Now, that is going to have a whole different look for a couple of departments, in particular the convention center and our recreation department. They are unique with regard to the type of things that are taking place there. And so we will continue to look at what changes happen and what does that mean for the next steps of all of this. I'm sure you can all hear my telephone ringing. So in addition to that, so that's kind of where we're at as far as our employees. We also made the decision this week that without having a good idea of where summer plans are, what the state is going to be, what kind of issues are coming down from the state, this would be the time that we needed to start firming up some plans for 4th of July. So because of the complete uncertainty, we made the decision that 4th of July is going to be, it's still going to be 4th of July, but we're not going to be having our typical festivities this year on the 4th of July. We're going to look at potentially moving a lot of that stuff to hopefully Labor Day and having a big Labor Day end of summer celebration, hopefully end of COVID-19 problem celebration, whatever we want to call it. But at this point, we just do not have enough certainty as we look at some of our surrounding communities and the decisions they've made with regard to their 4th of July celebrations to be able to say that this is a go to make the kind of commitments we need to make toward planning our typical 4th of July on the loop events. So we have made the decision to start getting that information out that 4th in the loop, the parade, will not be taking place on the 4th of July this year, and we'll be looking at doing some different things. If we get some good guidance, and I hear that we're going to start hearing from the governor later this week with regard to pools. So if we get some good guidance with regard to the opening and the availability of our pool for this summer, and if that is open for the 4th of July, I think we will maybe expand some of our 4th of July activities. So we might have we'll have something going on, assuming we can have that open. But it was a tough decision. It was a hard one to make, but because of timing, because of uncertainty, it's the right one to make at this point. We don't really have much of a choice beyond that, and hopefully we'll have a good, fun celebration toward the end of the summer as things become a little more normalized, and we have a better feeling of where the orders are with regard to social distancing, with regard to protection of the public, as well as our employees during that process. Later, a couple weeks ago, we had the opportunity to speak. We had a ratings call as we look at borrowing and our note borrowing that will be taking place. It was a productive conversation. I wish I could say it was an easy one this year. It should have been an easy one this year, but our pandemic issues have caused that to be a little bit different, especially considering that a lot of that money we're borrowing is for our convention center and the issues that revolve around that sector of our national as well as regional issues that exist for us. But it was a lively discussion, and I think we came out of it. Hopefully, we've not heard yet the final rating, but hopefully we come out of it favorable, especially considering the strong position that we are on with respect to our reserves, with respect to the balances that we've carried, with respect to all of the great fiscal decisions that you have made throughout this process. So with that said, I just continue, and I'm going to do it every time do this to thank all of our firefighters, our police officers, our public works folks who are just right on the front lines of all of this, continuing to serve our community to the best of their ability through all of the uncertainty that exists out there and all of the dangers that happen. So I want to make sure I give a shout out to all of them again, as well as all of our employees who continue to be dedicated and find new ways to serve the community during this time, so that everybody has something they can do while they're stuck inside. And hopefully we will all see a shift here in the next 30 days or so as we start getting things back to business. That's it.
Does anyone have questions for the mayor? I see none. Did someone say something?
Yeah, I was
Seeing
turning
none,
my
we'll
mic
move
on.
on to our
No, I had a question for Kevin. I had to turn
Okay,
my
go
mic
ahead.
on. Kevin, so Vicky, I know she's been promoting for the kids to write an essay for Memorial Day. Are we having council on the 25th or not?
So we will book a council meeting.
Yes.
Will we have it via Zoom or will we have it at council chambers? I don't know if we've made that decision yet.
Okay.
But we certainly will get that out to everybody in a timely manner. I don't know the answer to that yet. And I think that's
Okay.
something we'll have to have Vicky and I and Jim, and we'll have some conversations about whether or not we think we are at a point where we can have an in-person meeting on the end of May. I think June is very possible. Very probable, actually, considering
Okay.
that's when we're going to start shifting our employees back. Our next meeting here in May, I'm not sure, but let's see how things shake out in the next. I mean, technically, based on the governor's guidance, a group of our size really isn't supposed to congregate. So currently, so
right.
we'll figure that out. We're just kind of looking at what the guidance we're getting from the state and how we can do this all responsibly, as well as following the directives from Board of Health.
Okay.
And all of the kids know that is a possibility. They will Zoom in as attendees, and then I will bring them on to have them read their essays. So they understand that they're going to be part of the meeting via Zoom probably. They're all getting used to it. That's how they're being educated right now. So we've already gotten 4 wonderful essays, and I'm looking forward to getting some more, and I'll talk more about that. We'll go ahead and have our Safety Service Director, Mr. Lucas, go ahead and speak now.
Thank you. Before we touch on the legislation, just 2 quick project updates. The first is about our FEMA project with our dam and the bridge. FEMA rules would not allow us to simply hire Stantec for the design and engineering. Stantec was the firm that helped us with the application. FEMA believes that would have given them the inside advantage. So we had to go out for an RFQ. The RFQs were, the deadline was today. I reached out to about 25 engineering firms. We also advertised it in the paper as well as on the website. We only got 2 responses, which was a little disappointing, but at least we have 2. The next step is to review those and make a recommendation. So you'll probably be seeing that in June once we get a chance to look in more detail. Regarding the Duke pipeline project, got off a call today with Chad, and you're going to be seeing some activity on Conray Road toward the end of May into June or July. They've hired Jacobs to do some work throughout the whole region, looking for artifacts. What they'll be doing is digging 20-inch by 20-inch holes throughout the whole route, looking for artifacts. They'll also be doing some endangered species reviews, looking for bats, looking for running buffalo, clover, that type of thing. So you'll probably see some activity on Conray. If you do, that's what it's about. Kirk, you may want to tell your firefighters that as well, because they'll probably see it given the station there. Going into the legislation, we have one piece tonight. Kirk, Fire Chief, is here tonight to talk about that.
Yes, really what we're looking for is that the ability for Lieutenant Ellis to apply for an accelerant detection canine similar to the PD canine, only it helps with fire investigations. The primary purpose of it is to aid in the detection of gasoline or kerosene or diesel fuel, anything that would be used as an accelerant in a fire. And the dog can actually detect that on the scene without sending those samples to a lab. So it's a big boon. Lieutenant Ellis is one of very few that are actually qualified to handle one of these canines for the ATF. Fewer than 1% of all fire investigators are actually qualified to do this, and we have one amongst us. Lieutenant Ellis is here. I'm going to put him a little bit on the spot, but I know he's ready for this to kind of discuss what the canine is and what it's going to do for the city.
So can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
All right, good. So what the K9 is going to do for us in the city is it's going to put us on the map. It's going to get the city of Sharonville's name out in the investigation world even more than it has already. It's going to be a great resource for mutual aid departments, not only with the surrounding areas, but other resources in Butler County, Warren County, Hamilton County, Claremont County. It would be on an as needed basis, and it would just be a great resource for those. And it's going to take a lot of time, or it's time reduction for our fire scene investigations. Or if you run the K9 through and no accelerants are detected, it could make the investigation go a lot faster. Or if an accelerant is detected, then it brings up a whole new line of questioning to the occupants or people at the fire scene. And it's just another tool in the toolbox, and especially for PR for the city of Sharonville. PR events, kids love the dogs. It'll be a Labrador retriever, so I mean, it's not even a scary dog. So, and that's all I got for now.
Does anyone have a question?
I have a question. I'm wondering,
Okay, Mr. Wilson?
is there any kind of, does the dog do anything to prevent fires, or is it just used just when after we've had a fire?
So there's really no prevention to the dog other than locking up or facilitating putting the arsonist or person responsible for setting fires in jail. But as far as a prevention tool, it is, go to the schools, PR events, all this open house especially. And then the dog is a working dog. That means it has to smell accelerants to eat. So it's constantly training every day, and that's how it gets to eat, is just by smelling the accelerants.
Anyone else?
Do you want to touch on the costs involved?
I think the cost of the city and the department is really going to be very minimal. Just right around $4,000 to $5,000 to outfit a vehicle that we already have for the use of the K9. Other than that, food, vet care, and everything else is going to be handled through Lieutenant Ellis, and has been addressed in the MOU for the union as well. He already responds to a good portion of the fires in the area anyway as an investigator. The dog will just tag along. And so there won't be any more overtime or a salary than we're already expending. So this should really, for all intents and purposes, other than that $4,000 or $5,000, be about a cost neutral for the city.
Anyone else?
I have a question. Do we have the dog yet, or an idea of a dog?
So no, we don't have a dog yet. So there's a process that has to go through. So this is obviously a step in the process. So once we agree on the MOU, and the MOU is basically the city doesn't expect anything from the union doesn't expect anything from the city in relation to the K9. Once everybody agrees on all the initial steps, an application is filed with the ATF, and that documents how many fires we respond to, how many we've had, how many fatalities, how many were arson, how many were accidental. ATF will do a station visit. They will do an in-home visit. They will come verify that you have met all of their criteria. And then it is a selective process to actually get in the class. And
Okay.
Right now we're looking at the earliest class is 2021.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Anyone else? Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Lucas, did you have any
That's all
more
we
to
have.
report on? Okay, thank you. For my report tonight, I will go ahead and say that we have extended till Friday for our Memorial Day essays. I do have 4 great essays. However, one of the teachers was not able to get the information out in time. So I extended the date so everyone has it. The city put it out. We put it out on Sharonvillians. So a lot of kids hopefully will be able to participate in this. I have a couple veterans that are going to read all the essays, and then they will be choosing the winners. So we'll see where we go with that. I will have them either on our Zoom meeting or at our personal meeting, whichever happens. It sounds like may be all Zoom meetings, which is fine. So other than that, that's all being handled. Like I said, I've already received 4 fabulous ones, so it's going to be tough for those guys to select, I believe. St. Michael's made it an extra credit project, and I believe Sharonville Elementary did the same thing. So looking forward to getting all of those on Friday. And that's all of my report. I do want to say thank you to the fire department and the police department. They've made my 10-year-old grandson tonight feel really, really special, and Mike Carlson too from Public Works. They just kind of drove by my son's house, and he was feeling a little down that he could not have a big party, and 10 was a special day for him. So thank you guys very much for making his day. He truly appreciated it. And we'll go on. There is no clerk of council report, so we'll move on to our law director, Mr. Pete Meyer.
Mark, you need to unmute yourself.
We need to unmute you. I did it. Go ahead.
Can you see me or
Mark.
hear me?
Yes, we can. Now we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't see anything, but just reminder, Memorial Day, we are not having any program. There's a number of veterans that stand guard every year that still wanted to do that. So we will be lowering the flag to half staff as we always do at 8 o'clock. And then there'll be a number of veterans doing half-hour shifts that morning, but that's the only thing that will be going on. And as far as the use of council chambers, that's where we have mayor's court. And we are having our first mayor's court on Wednesday, June the 3rd. So we'll be able to get a pretty good idea of how we are able to space out and how that goes. But we are going to be there for the first time in about 6 weeks. And that is my report.
Wow. All right, thank you. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Pete Meyer? I don't see any, thank you. I have no residents that wish to be heard this evening, so we'll move on to our council committees, community development, Mr. Tankersley.
Thank you. I don't have a report, but we will be going over in Planning Commission tomorrow night, I believe the 2020 drawings, concept drawings. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, and I believe that's a Zoom
I'm sorry,
meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. And it's the 2020.
Okay. All right, thank you. Community service, Mr. Lippert.
Thanks. We met last Wednesday, May 6th via Zoom, and for Public Works, Mr. Kempe reported that it was pretty much nothing new. Street projects are proceeding, and they've got a lot of new safety procedures. As far as Mr. Blomer with the rec center, he followed up on his report to council. We discussed a lot of cuts, potential cuts to his budget to coincide with the financial impact that Mayor Hardman discussed. And we as a committee with Mr. Lucas suggested the possibility of removing one of the cuts, the indoor track replacement, which has to get done. And I know they're looking at that as far as getting some quotes and some timeline. Just with the recreation center being shut down anyway, it seemed like a really lost opportunity if we didn't get to it now. So that's what they're looking at. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to budget and finance. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. We met on Tuesday, May 5th. Mayor Hartman had addressed a lot of the things in his, what he had mentioned earlier in the meeting. And essentially, I came away, and I think other council members, that for all the issues that were out there following the COVID, we're in a pretty good shape as a city. I'd say really strong shape. So you can see that via the YouTube. It's still out there. The one thing, and Scott, feel free to chime in, we will have to make a decision as a body, probably in July. Originally, we were looking at paying down $2.5 million in debt. So we had some discussion of, do we not pay any of that down? Do we pay part of it, or do we pay all of it? And that's something we will have to decide on where we want to do. I know at this point, cash is king. So it's beneficial to have that money on hand. The downside is we're going to pay more in interest. So that's something we can discuss. Once again, if you want to hear a lot of what we talked about, it is on YouTube, and you can review it that way. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Cook? Seeing none, we'll go to honored citizens. Mrs. Knight,
No report.
did you want to say hi to your brother?
Oh, yeah.
Where's your sign, Sue?
Hi, John.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we'll go to our Law and Public Safety, Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you. The next Law and Public Safety Committee meeting will be on May 19th. It'll be a virtual meeting. It'll be at 4 p.m. Additional information on this meeting can be found on the city's website. Then I would like to also make one comment to Lieutenant Lucas. As I mentioned many times after our health fair, we have the annual health fair with the kids, and the most popular event, shall we say, and demonstration there was with a lab retriever that was able to detect bed bugs. And the demonstrations were just exciting for the students. They loved it. The amazing capabilities of the dog were just wonderful. And I see this as a great opportunity to have a wonderful interaction with the young people of our community and with the whole community with this asset that we're going to so really treasure. So thank you very much for all your efforts, because I can see how that was, the biggest crowd was always around that display. So thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one item tonight for rule suspension motion. I need a motion to suspend and have a first and only reading for Ordinance 2020-16E. Is there a motion? So moved by Mr. Tankersley, second by Mr. Cook. All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there any
Yes.
opposed? Mr. Wilson, are you opposed or are you with it? You just got in late.
I was a little late, but I'm in favor.
Okay. Okay, perfect. I just needed to let Terry know. Thank you.
Thank you.
There is no unfinished business. Our new business, and I'll go ahead and read it, is Ordinance 2020-16E. Mr. Lucas?
Sorry to interrupt, John Creech is also here for his annual report if council's willing to entertain that this evening.
Oh, okay, that did not get on here. So before we do this, Mr. Creech, would you like to go ahead and do your report?
Sure, I can do that. Good
Perfect.
evening. Good evening, City Council.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here. Can everyone see that report cover?
Yes.
Great. All right, so this is my third annual report since I've been here at the City of Sharonville, and hopefully I've got some great information in here for you. Our department, as you know, we are one of the smallest city departments, just 5 employees. We have pretty much a year-round co-op or intern. that provides a lot of assistance as well. And I'll go through a lot of the things we do and some of the things that we've worked on this year. So these are the individuals that make up the department. Sarah Dirks, myself, Donna Hollingsworth, Jerry Flick there in the back. He was trying to hide behind the pizza. This is when our office completed the food train last year. And as you know, last year when I did the annual report, that's when we had made some changes in the office. Donna Hollingsworth was promoted to code enforcement, and we brought in Gina Good as our administrative specialist. So she wasn't there the day when we had the photo taken, so I put her in there at the bottom. And I added Jerry's head there. He was actually hiding behind a pizza on that day. So hopefully he's watching this tonight. As part of the report, we all have our own unique task activities that we're responsible for, and I've just listed them out here. I won't go over all of this information, but I'm the director. Jerry is the chief building official, deals with all commercial residential inspections. As you recall, a couple of years ago, when we made some other changes in the office, when I got here, there were actually 2 building inspectors, and we did some reorganization. We created a full-time code enforcement position, and which I think has been really, really beneficial for the city. And we just went down to 1 inspector, and Jerry had really stepped up and has really taken over all of that activity. No problems. Sarah Dirks is our planner, responsible for our GIS mapping system, dealing with Planning Commission, BZA, and with some big projects we got going on now with the comprehensive plan update and a lot of other stuff as well. Gina and Donna. Donna was, like I said, she was formerly office administrator. She stepped up. She does all the code enforcement now. And I've got some numbers here we'll see in a bit. She's really, we've really been more proactive in the code enforcement, property maintenance, zoning enforcement aspect. You'll see some of that. I attribute that a lot to Donna. Gina is brand new, but she has been a great hire. Has been able to step right in and pretty much take things over. And she's got her own, and she's figuring things out, doing things to make it better. And we're very pleased with everything she's done. And this will be the last year that I'll have Anna Ellerding in our report, mayor's assistant. She was in it last year. Because at the end of the year, well, actually in January of this year, when she left to her new office after the office renovation. But we're very happy working with Anna, and we work very closely with her on pretty much everything we do. And I know you've probably seen a lot of the stuff on the city's Facebook page recently about the comprehensive plan, basically looking to get public comments on that project. So we appreciate that. One of the things we do is in the department deal with Sarah and I is deal with the Board of Zoning Appeals, Planning Commission, Architectural Review Board. And they're the individuals there, all of those individuals. I would point out Madeline Dressing resigned at the end of last year, but we're happy for her contributions. In the past year, we've been working on the 2030 plan update, and we appreciate all the steering committee members who attended a lot of our morning meetings at the MSP offices throughout that process. We've got couple of other projects we worked on this year, Safe Routes to School. And I've got down there that Mr. Tankersley was just mentioning it. Tomorrow night at Planning Commission, they'll be reviewing the downtown conceptual streetscape. So that's what that is. And actually that project was a grant. It was funded by an grant award from Hamilton County that Sarah Dirks applied for, and we received $25,000 to do that project. We hired Kleinger's Associates Engineers, and they put that together, that conceptual master plan. Board of Zoning Appeals, we held 19 meetings last year, there were 19 cases and there were 8 meetings held last year. And we sent out 232 notification letters. Now, the reason I put that information in there, the 232 notification letters, is because whenever a letter goes out, obviously it generates some interest on the part of the person that gets it. They call the office, they have questions, they want to know what's going on. So there's and that may be a 5-minute conversation, it may be 2 phone calls that last 30 minutes each. It just depends on the nature of what the issue is. So just to let you know that there's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes that you don't always see at those meetings. Planning Commission, 11 meetings held last year, 49 cases came before that board. And because there were more cases, obviously a lot more letters went out, a lot more notifications. For building, and this is with Jerry in particular, for 2019, got some numbers here for you. The total estimated construction value, and we look at this as the value added to real estate in the community. We're just talking about commercial development, mostly industrial, was about $31.4 million. So there was about $34.4 million worth of improvements to properties, commercial and industrial properties in the city last year, as reported on the permits that were actually applied for. Jerry made about 611 inspections in 2019. There were 323 permits that were issued, and our office actually collected just about $300,000 in permit revenue, and that's just from the commercial development. And then down there in the corner, you see we actually waived for last year about $37,600 worth of permit fees, and those are some big city projects. The big one being obviously the city police department. There was some work at the rec center, fire department. So there are several city projects on there. And then small economic development projects as well. Just to give you an idea, I mean, you're probably familiar with all of these. Peterbilt did a large expansion last year, right on the north side of I-275. I think most of you attended the True Hotel grand opening. City Police Department headquarters, the conversion of to the Marriott, Delta Marriott Hotel, the Ramada to the Delta Marriott Hotel, and the on Chester Road, the Third Eye Brewery. So these are some projects that Jerry did quite a few of inspections on last year that they're wrapping up or moving forward. In terms of residential development, obviously we do not have a lot of new residential property, but we do have a lot of homes and people are always making improvements. So we did issue 249 residential building permits last year. The total value of all that work, whether it was adding a hot water heater, a new roof, whatever it was about $536,000. We collected $26,500 in permit revenue, and Jerry made 266 residential inspections as a result. Let's go into this. I mentioned this just a moment ago. The Sharonville 2030 Comprehensive Plan was a big project that we worked on. We're trying to get wrapped up with things being the way they are. It got delayed, but that project kicked off in January of 2019. And we're very happy with all the folks that participated as steering committee members. We did have a great deal of community engagement, public meetings, public input. We got a lot of visitors to the project website, got lots of comments. And this project is really coming together very well. And we're excited. We'll be excited when it comes to the Planning Commission and then to City Council for the final approval. But it's really driven by the community. All of the the comments that came from that plan, that process. And there are quite a few maps, like you see here. You probably can't see the details, but there are a number of maps that detail a lot of great information, a lot of potential projects and ideas that came, really organic ideas that came up and made it onto the plan. Here's just some photos of some of the engagement meetings we had, the large meeting we had there, the kickoff meeting early in the year. And we really had two big meetings. One focused really on the residents, and then a second meeting really focused on the businesses and some of the employees of those businesses, because we looked at it as, you know, each one of those groups of the population may have different needs or things that they see in the community or would like to see, rather. And we'd also like to thank all of our partners through this process, the Convention Center, the Sharonville Branch Library, and the Rec Center for allowing us to host those meetings there as well. A couple other projects here I just want to quickly touch on. The Mill Creek Collaborative, that's a group that both myself, Sarah, as well as Anna, we attend from time to time whenever they meet. It's a group that's really working to bring multi-use trails into the community and connect to the destination of Sharon Woods Park. So we're getting really close, working with the Norfolk Southern Railroad on, we've identified some property, and it's on the map there, you really can't see it, but it runs from Evendale through the city up to Sharon Road, and that's a big piece of the puzzle, if you will. And then the next piece of the puzzle will be to get from that location to Sharon Woods Park. But we're working closely with the railroad to identify the property, the details of that, and ultimately, if they'll transfer it to us, if there'll be a price, or how we will acquire that property. It could be a grant-funded project to acquire that property. So we're really looking at a lot of different things. The Mill Creek Alliance Group, that's another one of our partners we worked with. We did a lot, Gina and I in particular, we put together the bidding information, and we went through that process last year, hired 2 separate contractors to do the work. And we're talking about the area. It's we refer to it as the Kemper Pond, right there at the north east corner of Mosteller and Kemper, right there by the Sonesta Suites. So that photograph there shows some of the improvements there. I just went there and took that the other day. So that area has been cleaned up. The landscaping contractor will be starting work soon if they haven't already, and they'll be putting in the final landscaping on that project. It's my understanding it was always an eyesore, and it's a project that the city from time to time had to go out and dredge. So the way they did it is they've restored it more as a natural flowing river. And then there at the bottom of the slide there, the Sharonville Home Improvement Program, which the City Council funded and started last year. Our partner on that is People Working Cooperatively. That program, we started off with $10,000, and there are some guidelines we put together. $2,500 maximum per home had to be a Sharonville resident owner-occupied dwelling. We did get 4 projects there, and I don't have the address. I just wanted to respect the homeowner's privacy of the homeowner. But those addresses are there, and you can see there's some of the work that was done on those homes: roof repair, chimney flashing, all of exterior stuff. That was the focus of this grant program. So we're pleased with the results of that program. We hope to continue this year as well. I also have right there in the corner credit cards. I did want to mention that this has been a great thing for our department now that we are able to collect credit cards. A lot of the contractors and folks that come into our office, because we have a lot of out-of-state businesses, many of the contractors are also from out of state. So whenever they come to apply for a permit or pick up a permit that's approved, the first thing they do is pull out their credit card to pay, or they did before, and we were not able to take that credit card. They had to pay by cash or check, which could sometimes add to delay, usually frustration on their part. So late last year, we were able to start taking credit cards, and everyone has been very pleased with that. It's a real benefit, I think, to businesses in the community. Just a couple other things here. Safe Routes to the School plan, we presented that, I think in December. We worked with a group of city employees, school district employees to put that plan together. We hired a consultant. And I recently got an email just last week that the plan has been approved by the Ohio State Department of Transportation. So what that means is items listed in that plan, we can start applying for those. Another thing we did last year is we did an RFP for electric permits and plan review inspections. The city had been with another contractor for many years, and we did some research, and that contractor, when they awarded that contract, it was a no bid contract because they were the only provider of that service in the Cincinnati metropolitan area. So we looked at that and decided, let's do an RFP and see if we can get a better deal for the community, residents and businesses. And we did an RFP. We found another contractor. We're very pleased with them. And we do all the permitting, all the permits and everything are dropped off at our office. So it just makes for a lot cleaner and easier way of dealing with customers and having a higher level of customer service. Then I've got the downtown loop conceptual streetscape master plan there. That will be the subject of the planning commission meeting tomorrow night. Just highlighted the area, and that was a grant funded project by Hamilton County. And this conceptual master plan, I'll just say this, it does have a lot of information in there, some new things, and a lot of things that were actually from the 2010 downtown master plan that was prepared for the city. And for whatever reason, some of those things were never really moved forward after that. So we took a lot of that information, rolled it into this, and this took a new look at it. So there's some great ideas in there that I think the city can look at in the future. Another thing our department is responsible for, I call this our land use ordinance. Because we are in a partnership with the Hamilton County Stormwater District, we're responsible for inspecting stormwater outlets to make sure there's no pollutants going out, exiting those outfalls going into the Mill Creek watershed area. So if we get a complaint, we obviously follow up on that, and we do get complaints from time to time. And there have been a couple of spills and that sort of thing, all minor, and we follow up with the property owner to get that cleaned up. So we inspect stormwater outfalls and stormwater detention basins. And that's something that we have our co-ops do a lot of the work on during the summertime. So that'll be starting up here pretty soon. And you see we have 154 stormwater detention basins, and we add new ones every time there's new development, and about 333 stormwater outfalls. So that is a lot of structures to inspect. And actually, I've just got the map here that shows some of these features. There are just so many on there. This is just a northern portion of the city there. You can see how they kind of overlap. There are quite a few. And we did have 9 complaints last year that we had to follow up on. Sign permits, that's another thing that we are responsible for in our department. Anytime a new business changes or installs a new sign, they come to our department for a permit. There were 66 of those issued last year. Total valuation, $642,000. There are quite a few of those on Chester Road, and I don't have that in here, but there have been a lot of sign improvements or sign removals as well that have gone on in Chester Road. And those numbers are reflected on here as well. So we also issue zoning permits, and those permits are for sheds, structures, anything under 200 square feet, fences or driveways. And there were about almost $500,000 worth of those permits issued last year, 104. So there's quite a few improvements there. And then property maintenance, zoning, code enforcement. For 2019, we had 445 total property maintenance cases. And I look back here at our 2018 report, and there were actually 244. So we have had a huge increase. And like I said, I attribute that to Donna being more proactive, and I think we're very happy with that. High grass complaints in 2019, just about the same as they were in 2018, 90 versus 86. So, and this is, I don't have it on here, but we also prosecuted a number of cases through the Sharonville Mayor's Court. Again, that's something we only do as a last resort because it does take there's a lot of due diligence we have to do on our end and a lot of paperwork that has to be filed. But we do that we will do that if the offending property owner does not take care of the issue. And this is my last slide. This is just want to recognize some of the folks who contributed a lot of work in 2019. Alexis Threat, you probably recall, she was really our first code enforcement officer. She left midway through the year, or actually in April, to go pursue her MBA program. Then, like I said, we have co-ops throughout the year, and they're typically from the University of Cincinnati School of Planning. Gabe Rhodes, who actually was a Princeton School graduate, was here last year. Jamie Krindler was here during the summer, then Anthony Gusley, and we were very happy with all the work that we got out of them. We look forward to continuing that partnership, although right now it's a little up in the air with the way things are. But that's kind of the report. That's what happened in 2019. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
John, I have a question.
Yes.
While I was driving all these meals to my senior citizens, I noticed a lot of high grass and some of the, like on Havistraw at the bottom of the hill, is because of the virus thing. Are we not enforcing a lot of that? I mean, it just seemed like we had a lot, like down by the firehouse, there's a lot that we need to take care of that. And because we are asking people to cut their grass, and then we're not cutting the grass. So
no, we are enforcing that. In fact, sorry. Oh, no, I was going to say we are enforcing that. In fact, Donna has ran out of her door hangers already. Yeah, for whatever reason, you would think that with folks staying home, it would be taken care of, but
yeah, that's what I thought too. And this, I kind of got, I went the wrong way on Havistraw for the first time, and I was like, oh my God. I mean, it was, like a jungle.
But no, if there's any complaints, just shoot us an email, give us a call. Okay. We'll follow up.
All right. I just thought maybe we weren't enforcing it because of the virus.
Oh, no.
Okay. Good job.
Thank you.
John, we need you to unshare your screen.
Okay.
There you go. Now I can see everybody. Are there any other questions?
John, this is Paul. Yeah, Vicki, Paul.
Yes.
I just wanted to,
go ahead, Paul.
I sent a note to John a while ago, remember? Because our Rob's ward and my ward seem to have historically the largest number of code violations or the complaints about code violations. In the past year, the number of contacts that I received has gone down to nothing. And people have been very, very pleased with code enforcement, which is a very, very difficult, fair and firm, yet you have to have a lot of tact and diplomacy, but you have to be very consistent. And I even had people call me to say that problems that had existed for years had suddenly gone away. And I think I would like to have taken credit for it, but it was really Donna out and about in her purple vehicle, which you see kind of ubiquitous around Sharonville. And again, as I said, if she stops in front of your house, you better hope she's taking a phone call and not looking at your property. I think that's one of the most effective things that we have done, or most effective actions that she's taken. And you've seen it when John reported almost double the code incidents that she's reported and worked with. And it has been dramatically reflected in the amount of calls that I received. I said they're almost down to none. And I really did appreciate it. And I did comment. I don't know if I copied Jim and Kevin and Vicky on that, but it is very significant and very noticeable. And again, the people, their big concern is that if we don't maintain the code, the standards, it affects property values. And that is such a plus for Sharonville. So again, accolades for doubling. I know she was doing very effective work, and I appreciate seeing her. So thanks so much. And as I said, I did send a note to thank her.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Creech. We'll go ahead and I will go ahead to new business now. Ordinance 2020-16E, authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a memorandum of understanding which the Council of Sharonville hereby approves, modifying the collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters Local 4498 for the currently effective bargaining period to provide for the use of arson dogs by bargaining unit members. Mr. Tankersley?
Yeah, I'm for it if you was finished.
Oh, I was doing Terry's job.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm doing double duty. So now I can, is there a motion? So Mr. Tankersley is making the motion and Mr. Lippert is seconding that motion. Is there any other discussion on this? Seeing none, Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Duda,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight, Sue, we need
You're muted, Sue.
you need to unmute.
So if you're on a laptop, hit Alt-A.
Yeah, it's not letting me unmute her either. Sue, just give me a thumbs up. Got it. So that's a yes. I don't know why you're not able to speak. Paul Schmidt?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that motion carries. Thank you. There are still no residents on to be heard this evening. Are there any other matters that anyone would like to bring before council? I don't see any. I need a motion now in accordance to Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G1 in regards to employment. We have been asked to have an executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session? So moved by Mr. Wilson. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Cook. Thank you. Hang on just a second. Okay, if everyone could try to unmute now, we'll go down and I'll do roll call. Mr. Tankersley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Duda,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight, just go with the thumbs up. And Mr. Schmidt.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I am assuming, Mayor, you had sent out everyone that you wanted invited to this executive session. We're going to leave this Zoom meeting now and go into executive
Yes,
session in another meeting. What was that, Mayor?
No, I was just confirming we've sent stuff out and everybody should have the link that has been requested to be there, which would be all elected, as well as the chief and Noah and Jim.
Okay, everyone can go ahead and get off now, and we're going to go over to our other Zoom meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Knight, are you having trouble finding the Zoom
Mrs.
window?
Knight, I need you to exit. Sue, go to the link. Sue, can you hear me? Okay, Sue, go to the right-hand corner of your screen and hit leave, and then go into your new email. Down at, move your cursor. You may have to make it come up down where the mute button is.
I think she may have lost the Zoom window as a whole. So you might need to reopen it from the bottom bar in your computer. If you're using a PC, find the little Zoom blue square and open it back up, click it. And maybe that'll get you the meeting back.
For Sue?
And then you might be able to leave.
Sue, can you hear me?
If she goes to her email and tries to start the other meeting, it should give her the option to leave this meeting. So she might be able to just do that. I don't know if she can still hear us though.
I don't think she can. Let me see, can I?
Oh, she's gone.
She's gone now. Okay. I was going to say I tried to shut her down. Mark Pete Meyer, do you want to stay in the other meeting? Okay. Kevin, is Mark needed in this meeting? It's okay. Okay.
Still waiting for Sue to find us, it looks like.
Mark, I'm going to stop your video in this meeting just so that we're not just watching you while they're in executive session. I'll give you a prompt when you're muted. I can unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I tried to log into the executive session, but nothing's happening.
I haven't been involved with scheduling that. When you tried to log in, did you?
When I did what I did before, I hit the link and I hit and it says launching, but nothing's happening.
Okay. It might be helpful to leave this meeting first because you can only be in one Zoom meeting at a time.
Okay, can you do that for me?
I think so.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Jason, they should be coming back now.
I'm starting to see everybody. Vicky, if you wanted to restart the recording on your end, you could. It stopped when you left. But just make sure to click record on this computer, not record in the cloud or record to cloud.
Jason on our first council meeting, there's normally a little red light that says record. And I didn't see it. All I see is alive.
I'm recording the meeting, and then Vicky was recording the meeting as well.
Okay.
And the live portion also stays available in perpetuity.
Okay. I was just wondering, because in the past it's always showed the little record icon up in the corner on my iPad. So
I'm not sure why it doesn't this time. I have upgraded the software recently. I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
Oh, okay.
I think we're all here, right, Vicky?
Are we back on?
Yes.
As long as everybody's here and you're ready to go, yes, we're good to go. We are still live.
Okay, we are going to come out of executive session. I need a motion to do so. Is there a motion to come out of executive session? So moved by Mr. Lippert. Second by Mrs. Knight. I'll do roll call. If everybody will unmute, please. Rob Tankersley,
Yes.
did we lose Mr. Tankersley?
No, I'm here. My mic's unmuted.
I can hear Mr. Tankersley.
Okay, he's a yes. Mr. Wilson,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Lippert,
Yes.
Mr. Duda,
Yes.
Mr. Cook,
Yes.
Mrs. Knight,
Yes.
and Mr. Schmidt.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Is there anything that needs to be brought before council this evening? Seeing nothing, is there a motion for adjournment? So moved by Mr. Lippert, second by Mr. Wilson. All those in favor, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. And we